With that, I just want to get your reaction to some of the violence that occurred over the weekend. We had a quad shooting in the city, and then 2 miles away on Virginia Avenue, we had another shooting, which may be a fatal, but it's still being worked out. On Thursday, I reported on the tremendous traffic backup on Western Freeway because of those shootings. What would you like to say about these recent incidents of crime in your city?
So anytime we see instances of crime in the city, we know that the harm that is felt by the individuals who are individually impacted, that harm spreads throughout our entire community. And so seeing violent crime, seeking an end to that violent crime, that's the ultimate goal, is preventing it. But also on a reactive standpoint, we are always standing ready to do what we can from a system perspective to address it.
Do you think it's gang related?
Do I think it's gang related? I can't speak to what it is until I get the facts in front of me. So I don't, ever make a habit of guessing. We have to be meticulous about what we say and how we address things. But what I do know is that all communities, all around our nation, all across our state, are dealing with some form of violence where individuals group together and, harm communities.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much for that. I have spoken with several people, and they fought you for failing, these are their words, to properly manage the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. Cases are dismissed with prejudice because you are failing to deliver discovery in a timely fashion. Cases are dismissed due to negligence. Your response on those comments?
So I will be very clear. We have a team here who is very experienced, a team who works very diligently, and we have a team that's working very, very hard to make sure that they handle all of their responsibilities to the best of their abilities. And so quite frequently we are successful. And last week we had a first-degree murder conviction as a result of the efforts of the attorneys in this office. The week before that, we had a first-degree murder conviction as a result of the efforts of the attorneys in this office. And that cannot happen unless they are following the rules, unless they are turning information over, and unless they are adequately prosecuting the cases that we are charged with handling.
Actually, in that most recent one, I was actually in the courtroom, and your prosecutor failed to deliver the witness list, expert witness list. So your witness in that case from the medical examiner's office was not able to testify. She had to testify as I guess they call it a lay person. And she left really upset because your prosecutor did not put her on the expert witness list. Mr. Massey objected, and she was not able to testify as an expert.
And so that
you won the case.
And so that you are clear, my attorneys complied exactly with what was in the order that governed in that matter. They also argued about what case law was on point. And judges have discretion to make whatever decisions they want. And despite all of that, because of the work that my attorneys did, because of the fact that they complied completely with the order that was governing, and because of their advocacy, that is why we have a first-degree murder conviction. And so that is not something that should be turned around into a negative when the community needs to understand that the work is being done and that the convictions are being had.
People have left your office, this is what has been said, because of working conditions. They are terrible, they say.
Excuse me.
Because of stress.
Andy, can we stick to what we agreed to talk about, please?
And show poor leadership. I like your comments about that and why you think that is right or wrong.
So I will be very clear with you. You asked to come here and you asked to speak about specific instances, cases, matters that you brought up. And that is what we are here to do.
Okay.
And so with respect to the office conditions here, everyone is treated with great respect.
How many lawyers do you
Everyone
have
is
working here?
paid appropriately.
We still haven't got the information from the FOIA.
Well, you asked to come here and speak about specific cases,
Okay,
and
let
that
me
is
talk
what we
about
will
Judge
do.
Spry.
Well, please don't interrupt me. Let's not have any ambushes. Let's have respect. And let's make sure that you don't interrupt. If you are asking a question and you want to answer, I want to make sure that the community can hear from us about what is happening in this office, but it needs to be done fairly.
Okay. Judge Spry, I will say, within a month, we had 4 or 5 cases that have dealt with this. Your actions are gross negligence. The prosecutor acknowledged his office, your prosecutor, had not met the burden of care when producing the witness list. We interviewed Michael Massey, failed cases involving your office. Now, that case was dismissed with prejudice. That's one of the cases I sent you. What do you want to say about that?
And again, we have judges who make decisions based upon their discretion.
But they say you
do what
violated
they,
the tenet of
Are you going to
law.
allow me to answer? Are we
Yes.
going to have civilized conversation?
Yes, we are. It's very simple.
So what we will do in all instances is we will handle what we can to make sure that the community understands what happens in this judicial system. And in certain instances, judges have discretion. Their indicativeness about what they have seen, they have their opinions, we have our opinions, we have our facts, we have transcripts that we review. And, I kindly disagree to any assertion that this entire office as a whole is not working as it should. There have been mechanisms that have been put in place to make sure that all information has been turned over. But ultimately, when you have a judge that has an opinion and they make a decision based on their discretion, and we argue case law that is on point about certain things that must happen before a dismissal is had, if they disregard that based upon their discretion, that is something that they have done, and they have to deal with the effects on the community.
Ms. Morales, with all due respect, the judge hearing the case thought your office was wrong. Now, you can have your own opinion, but the opinion that really counts is the judge's. And she found you guys at fault because you had not produced what was required for the case. And it was dismissed, not only dismissed, but dismissed with prejudice.
And your station has reported on this, and we've been very clear in our position that judges have discretion. They make the decisions that they make, and we will operate under the law to take every step that we can to seek justice for victims and witnesses.
How many prosecutors do you have in your office as we have requested under FOIA?
And what we will do is we will continue to answer the questions that you brought forward. We spoke with your station about responding to the FOIA request and how that would happen. You did not bring that forward today, and I'm going to be very clear with you. As we seek to always make sure that the public understands what happens in this system, we will also be fair, and we expect the same fair treatment from you.
So you will not answer the question, how many prosecutors you have?
We will continue to work with the individual who asked for that information in the way that we said that we would. We
Okay,
were very clear with them.
We look forward to seeing it.
And we look forward to addressing it in the way that we said that we would.
It's way past the deadline.
And
This
so
is a letter.
let's not do this. Let's not throw out shots, okay? There is a deadline with FOIA, an extension was sent, and discussion was had about how that request would be met. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am very
Okay,
well,
so please
I'm well aware
don't, so
that
please don't make a statement
we have
as
you
though
say,
our office did not follow the rules of law as it pertains to that request.
this is a letter from the State Attorney General, second paragraph.
Mhm.
In light of recent news reports about serious felony cases involving murders and child abuse in Portsmouth being
Now,
dismissed
let me stop
due
you.
to mistakes
Let me
from
stop
your
you.
office, let me finish,
Now, let
and
me
rules
stop
not being
you.
followed, I'm writing to offer
Let me stop
the
you.
offer the resources.
Andy,
of the
this is
Office
not
of
what you
Attorney
said that you
General
wanted to
help
talk
prosecute
about.
violent crime in the city of Portsmouth. Have you
Do
responded?
you have my response letter?
I
It
do
seems
not.
you're unprepared.
I do not have
You're
your response
unprepared because you asked us to speak about certain things, and you've brought forward information that you don't have a response for.
This popped
You
up
also are
on Thursday.
unaware that I have had a meeting scheduled that they have to reschedule with the Attorney General's office to discuss what the Attorney General wants to discuss, and also what I want to share, which is that some of the media reports that were relied upon, those entities had to issue retractions because of incorrect information. Now, you appear to be unprepared.
I am
Because
very
you have
prepared.
asked to speak about one thing, but you don't have all of the information. So if you are going to do a service to the community and provide information, please be honest with us about what you want to talk about so that we can ensure that you are fully prepared.
I am very prepared to even have this letter, and my question to you is, what are you asking from the State
I
Attorney
have
General's office?
responded to that letter. You could have had that letter if you had been prepared and if you had been honest with us about what you wanted to speak about today. And what I am doing is, as a professional, I have asked to meet with the Attorney General. We have had a meeting scheduled. We've moved that meeting, and at the request of the Attorney General, we are rescheduling that meeting again. And so that is something that I'm very serious about, is getting all resources available for the city of Portsmouth from any entity. Our office has always worked with the Attorney General's office. We have always worked with any entities that we need to in order to get the work done. But Andy, if you want to talk about what's happened in this office, you should talk about the fact that there was a first-degree murder conviction last week. There was a first-degree murder conviction the week before. There was a homicide conviction not even a month prior to that, and so on and so forth.
What
We
about
have
the
had-
Cannon
we have-
case, the McLean's case, the casino story,
Well,
the house fire
And
with that
are you
daycare?
going to
What about
ask
those?
the questions one at a time in a way that they can be answered?
Yeah, what
You
happened
asked about
with the
you asked about many cases at one time, and what I will do with you is if you wanna talk about a series of cases, we can talk about a series of successes and of convictions and of accountability that this community wants to know about as well. It is very clear you have a picture that you would like to paint.
I'm
It
only
is also very important to note that this community cares about the entire picture. And so to speak to the negative things that you want to bring up, or the statements that people have made, or, just whatever you have come up with, what you also need to do is speak to the convictions that have happened that this community has not heard enough about as quickly as possible
Ms. Morales,
about what has happened over the past 2 weeks.
with all due respect, I am discussing these cases because it goes to the management of this office. Here's some other things I think.
All of the cases go to the management of the office.
Yes,
If
right.
that is the position that you take, you can also speak to the cases that go to the management of the office where there are convictions on very serious cases. And you don't get releases on all of the convictions, but my attorneys are in court every single day, working very hard, getting justice for victims. Now, you brought up an instance with the casino case, and I would love to talk about that because one, this case is ongoing. So I'm limited in what I can say on the facts, but what I will say is that system actors have a responsibility to protect victims and witnesses, and what they should not do is reveal public information in order to undress that individual or an office. And so to make indications about whether or not we're in communication with our victims and witnesses, we are. We work very diligently to do that, and at times when that doesn't work well, we continue to seek out victims and witnesses and opportunities to speak with them. But what we will never do is we will never publicly expose their information for our own gain or to make anyone else look bad.
People have said of your office, people have left because of the working conditions. They're terrible because of stress, not enough lawyers, stressed out, never trained, and show poor
Andy, we need to stick to what you agreed that you wanted to talk about. You have about 2 minutes left, so if we can talk about what you said that you want to talk about.
Respond to that,
What I
please.
would say is that there are a great many people here who have enjoyed the leadership, who have been treated fairly like they never have in other places. They have been given opportunities. There is much opportunity for training. There are directives. And there is a culture where disrespect is not tolerated on any level. I don't disrespect the members of the office, and I expect that other members of the office treat each other fairly and with respect as well. And so for people who have been here, many of whom were able to enjoy the same benefits, receiving training in the office, receiving training outside of the office, being given the opportunity to advance, being given the opportunity to bring new initiatives to the office. There are a great many people who speak of how important it has been in their development and their growth, and you can see that in the work that many of the attorneys bring to the forefront every single day.
In your office, do you do these things? Do you have regular training? Do you have weekly attorney meetings where everyone sits around and talks about their cases? Have you come up with a procedure, one procedure to handle discovery? Because if you go to all of the cases, Ms. Morales, that people have a problem with, it always goes to the basic tenet of discovery.
Would you like an answer to your
and
question?
expert witness lists.
Would you like an answer to your question?
Please.
Okay, so yes, there is a weekly meeting, and actually there are more than one. Yes, there is a protocol as it pertains to discovery. Yes, there is a protocol as far as communication. There are many protocols in place, and yes, there are standard training processes internally and externally.
If there is a process, then how come your office has so many problems with discovery?
Well, this office does not have the problems with discovery that you would like to say that it does. And also, again, I will repeat, there are instances as recently as last week where our office complied to the letter, where case law was brought up, as to how things should be handled, and the judge utilized its discretion to do what it did, and the result was still a first-degree murder conviction because of the excellent work of my team.
How come these judges
Excuse me,
always
Andy, it's
rule
been
against you
15
on
minutes.
this
We're going to need to stop it
issue?
now.
How
We're going to
come
need to
these
stop. Mrs.
issues-
Morales has
these-
another appointment, so
how
we
come
really need to
these
stop now,
issues
Andy.
Are not determined in court by
Andy,
the judges. Why
Andy.
are they fighting against you?
Well, this will be the last question because, as Ms. Ranger indicated, we are out of time. But to be clear, judges do have discretion, and there is the law that is on point about what is required.
And they say you're outside the
there
law.
are times when these judges are not paying attention to what the law has indicated, and there are times when my attorneys are going to do everything that they can to be clear about what is supposed to happen. We have had instances of defense attorneys misstating the law, the judges allowing that information, and we find out after the fact that that is incorrect. And we will deal with that in the appropriate way, and your station has reported many ways and many times on all of this information. And what I would like for you to do, Andy, is to make sure that as you speak to the negative, please also speak to the positive and make sure that you are leaving the information to the community about what has happened that is supposed to happen and what has happened to keep our community safe. That doesn't seem to be something you're interested in doing.
Ms.
It
Ms.
seems
Morales,
like you're not interested
you
in the
are
full
blaming
picture.
the judges.
Well, I am.
You're blaming the judges.
What I'm doing is I'm being very clear about who has the opportunity to decide. Okay?
The judges are
And-
deciding
and
that
when
you
there-
are in the
And
wrong
when there, and first of all,
in these cases.
and when there is information that is very clear about what the law says, if misinformation comes into the picture, and a judge has an opportunity to handle that, and they choose to stay with the misinformation, or if they choose to allow a person to bring in other information about how something should happen when our office has completely complied with the order that is on point, yes, I'm going to bring it up, that we have every right to argue what the law is. That is what I'm going to do. And what you should not do is take a few instances where there is a negative outcome and make that the entirety of what the office has done. You choose to bring up instances that have happened previously, and you don't want to talk about the 2 convictions that have happened within the past 2 weeks.
And I told you a problem with one of them.
If you are, and it did not, if
But
it,
you
if
did
it
win that.
results in the community
Yes.
members who are members of the jury coming back the same day with a guilty conviction, that speaks to the work of my team in bringing out the facts. But
Okay,
you
can we
cannot
wrap this up? Can we wrap it up?
cannot-
No, we need to wrap it up now. We need to wrap it up.
The family who had a victim,
Mhm.
their family member who was lost, that family, that's who matters to us. And you also indicated that you were not there to cover that story. We offered to talk to you that day. And so we offered to talk to you and give you that information then, and here you are today, bringing up something negative during a positive outcome.
I was there to see that part of it.
You refuse to talk about the previous week, the first-degree murder conviction. You do not want to talk about the voluntary manslaughter conviction from not even a month prior to that. You're not interested in talking about the convictions. The community is interested in hearing about the convictions.
We expect convictions, okay? Number one.
The
Number two, you
community
gave me
is-
15 minutes, Ms.
community is
Morales, and I
interested in
got through
hearing
as
that.
much as I could. But last question. Are
No,
you-
No,
we're
we
not-
can't, we
are
can't
you
do any
going to
more
accept
questions,
the
Andy.
attorney help from the state attorney general?
have, and this is.
Are you gonna
You are,
accept attorneys?
you are out of line with your disrespect, but what I will say to you, your lack of preparation has led you to a point where we could not properly discuss this because I have responded in kind. And again, I told you before, I scheduled a meeting that I invited the Attorney General to, that we are supposed to have. It's very unfortunate that you choose to take something that is going to be a positive and turn it into something negative because you refuse to provide the information that you truly wanted to speak about today. Andy,
How many attorneys will you
Andy,
accept from
Andy,
him? Has he
Andy,
offered you
what I
attorneys
will
to come
do-
into the
What
office?
I will do is I will walk away with praise from this interview because you have gone well over the time that we agreed upon. You did not want Thursday when I had lots of time. You wanted today. We made that happen for you to get you this information to ensure that our community understands the work that we are doing, the convictions that we have had, the very, very hard work that our team has done. And what you have done is use this time to try to ambush And that is unfortunate for you.
We're just trying to
That
get
is
answers.
unfortunate for
Just
you.
trying to get answers.
Well, I want to give you the answers,
How
but
many
what
attorneys
I
have
want
you
to
been
do,
offered by the State Attorney General's
the
office?
Attorney General's office has not offered any attorneys as of yet, okay? And I will be meeting with the Attorney General, again, at my request, to see what we can utilize based on what they have, but again, so that they understand the work that has been done here and the work that we have done in conjunction with their office. We are going to leave. We're going to leave.
Are you gonna
and
correct the
we're
record with
going
him
to
about
leave.
the issues have been dismissed due to mistakes?
Andy, thank you very much
Well,
for coming. Thank you for your time, Andy. You are well over your time.
That's what led to the letter.
I've clarified things with you, and I've indicated to you that you're drastically unprepared because you misrepresented what you would be coming to the office about.
I got the letter right here.
And I understand that
He
you
has
like
the
to.
same
I
impression.
understand that you like to sensationalize things, but this is a professional environment for me, and I'm only here to bring out information for my community. And it's unfortunate that you're unprepared. You don't have my response. You only have one side. And again, I'm turning this into something positive with the Attorney General's office. Don't come here with one side of the information. It seems like that's what you want to do.
Are you gonna clarify it for him? Because he
Well,
was under the same.
Andy, we are well over the time limit.
For him,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
I've clarified for him in the letter that I gave him that you don't have because you came here with this information and you were not honest about what you wanted to discuss with us.
I want to
And
discuss
that's
your
where,
office.
and that's unfortunately where we are because you brought 4 items that you wanted to discuss and you've come with other things. And had you been honest, we would have been able to give you the other side to the information that you have. You are grossly unprepared because of your dishonesty.
Well, that is your
And
opinion.
in journalism, it is very important for our community to get the full story and to get the truth. And for you to be dishonest about what you wanted to talk about and to only come with half the information, you are grossly
I
unprepared.
am just giving
And
you
it's
the
highly unfortunate.
ending of these
It's
cases.
highly unfortunate.
I gave you those cases
Well,
because those are cases that you
And
lost.
all of them
Andy,
were not
thank you.
cases, and all of them
Mrs.
were not
Morales, you
lost.
can remove.
Many of them were still pending. And so unfortunately, you lost out on an opportunity to talk about the things that you wanted to discuss because you threw all of these things out that people have said that we have a completely different understanding here in this office. We have people who are proud to work here, who do the work very well, and who will continue to do so every single day despite negative tones from people who really truly could care less about seeing justice, and that's greatly what we care about.
But these cases meant that, in your opinion, justice wasn't served.
Is this
Ms. Morales.
what you were interested in, going over the time so that I will walk out? Because you're being highly disrespectful right now.
I will tell you this,
You're being highly
that I would like a
disrespectful.
response to
You're
the
you're
letter.
being highly disrespectful.
I did not know that there
and
was a
you're now,
letter.
You're now demanding something because you refuse to speak. You refuse to speak truthfully as to what you were going to interview about, and you're grossly underprepared.
I am
and
not
now you're
underprepared.
demanding
I'm put on a
something?
15-minute time limit. I sent in those
Yes,
cases.
that's what
All
you
those
decided.
cases go to what I'm
That is
talking
what you-
about.
and that all those cases are, first of
All
all,
of
some
them.
of them were not cases, and again,
Well, yeah, but all those incidents go
two
to,
of them are still pending,
well,
okay?
yeah, but
And so,
you keep
again,
talking about the cases. Those cases I brought to you deal with what is going on in this office.
That
That's
is
why I
not
gave
what
you
is
those
going on.
cases.
One of the cases that you gave me was something at the discretion of the court, which the grand jury decided differently.
Judge Spry,
We never
is she
we
wrong?
never got an opportunity to discuss those things.
Are all-
You're asking me to speak to whether a judge is wrong. What I will speak to is rulings. What I will speak to is what the law says. And I will speak to the fact that our attorneys go in there and they advocate based on what the law says, okay? And so what I will not do is I will not do the disrespect of you coming in grossly underprepared, not having the full story because you refuse to be honest about what you wanted to talk about. Our goal is to be honest with the community, to be very clear about what it is that we do. Any issues that we've had, we have been straightforward on. You've reported on these issues, we've responded, we haven't ignored you. But for you to come forward with misinformation about what you wanted to speak to us about, and then bring out other information, it makes you unprepared. It puts you in a position where you cannot accurately report. And if you want to report from a one-sided perspective, that's unfortunate, but it's biased and it's not what you should be doing as a journalist.